Hi, and welcome to Dramatic Knits. My name is Steve, also known as Dramatic Knits.
And I'm Callie, also known as Calsters.
And today is Sunday, December 17th, 2017. This is episode 297. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for coming back one more episode. And if you're new, hopefully you enjoyed today's show and you'll come back in the future. And as you can see, we've got some FOs to talk about this episode, and we've got some works in progress and other news, so lots to talk about, but hopefully we'll keep it to a streamlined episode here during the holidays, since, you know, there's all those vlogmases going on and all the videos that everybody has to watch, and I'm sure you're probably busy yourself. I'm getting a little tongue-tied. I took a slight nap a little while ago, so I'm still kind of waking up, but don't worry, you guys give me the energy to keep going, as well as Callie, who gives me the side eye a lot more than I notice while I'm actually talking. So, you guys all comment how much you love her expressions. I don't notice them while I'm talking, because I'm engaging with you. But if I watch it back...
I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
Anyway, it's been 2 weeks, and... Continuing on, it's been very busy, though it's been a little bit better for me here on the home front without having to travel so much for show season. I've been able to, you know, focus on a lot of other business things here at home, and I'll talk about some of those towards the end of the show in center stage. But I've been going to open knitting a lot. My sister has started joining me a couple of times, which is exciting. She does a little bit of knitting here and there, so I think she's trying to kind of get out and socialize a little bit more, which is good because that's what I use knitting for. It kind of forces me to interact with people outside of the internets. So there's that. And we had a PJ party at our local yarn store on Friday. So my sister and I attended that, and Callie showed up. And it was till really late for me, 11 o'clock, and then I had to drive home. And there's an Arby's by our local yarn store, and we may have went at 10:30 p.m. and got some cheese sticks, because that's how we roll.
They closed at 11. It wasn't like we were the jerk faces that, like, showed up 10 minutes before they closed.
Yeah, well, just 30.
Just 30. That's adequate time.
And then yesterday, I traveled down to visit my friend Amber, or our friend Amber, yarn hoarder. I would say it's purely for business, but it wasn't. We hung out for a good deal of the day knitting, and I got another finished object to show you all. But she was kind enough to take some photos for me for our yarn review sets and one of my FOs. So that was a long day, but it was good. So, and then that's pretty much about it. Nothing else really going on. We're going to be traveling next weekend for the holidays. We're going to Indiana for the weekend, and then we'll be back on Christmas Eve night, and then we have dinner with my mom, and then turn around and go back there for breakfast on Christmas Day. But then Christmas evening, we stay in our PJs for Christmas. We've done it the past 2 years, from when we go to my mom's through the evening, and it's glorious, and we take the day off, and I might have some steak au poivre for Christmas. That's what I asked for. It's delicious, some filet mignon with some sort of boozy sauce. I think it's sherry maybe in it or something. I don't know. Brandy. There's brandy. Brandy and cream and a bunch of seasonings. That's good. That's delicious. So, mouth is watering. We're having quesadillas tonight. Yep. Anyway, because you want to know what I'm eating here in a few hours, I'm all pass it over to Callie, and she's going to let you know what she's been up to these 2 weeks.
The last 2 weeks have been a roller coaster of emotions, so that was fun. Someone left at my workplace, and I'm really okay with that.
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement. So there's a story behind this, but
what? Callie has a story?
I know. To put it into perspective, if I would not have had an all-day meeting about roughly an hour-ish away from my workplace, it would have been a steady day of drinking. But because I had committed to both present and to attend, I was like, better not call those things off. So, yeah. So that happened. And then the next day, my mom and I drove to IKEA in St. Louis, and I got a new dresser that is fantastic and still not put together and still in the back of my car because it's okay. So this dresser is massive. It's a five drawer dresser, and it comes in 3 boxes, and it is super heavy. Each box is like 70 plus pounds. And so the interesting thing about our house is like all the bedrooms are on the 2nd floor, and that's not the problem. The problem is our staircase. Since we live in an old farmhouse, it's 3 stairs up and a 90-degree angle going up the rest of the stairs. So it's not like you can lift things up onto the 2nd floor. So everything has to be like, you have to be able to maneuver it at a 90-degree angle. Like, there's no give. It is solid walls. So I have not figured out yet, have determined how I'm going to get these 3 boxes up the stairs. Because it basically, the boxes have to go up like this, but there's like there's no way to grip that other than like bear hugging it. So they're steep stairs. Like our stairs come up to about 3/4 of my calves. So like they're not small steps either. But like lifting it, you can kind of leverage it and then slide it. So it's just a lot of thought, and I've not quite had the mental capacity to do that math yet. But I'm really excited. And also this proves a point that I also have to put it together upstairs. So, in hindsight, was this maybe not the smartest decision? One could argue that, but it'll be totally worth it. And what I kind of like championed about getting this dresser from IKEA is that when I move out, I can take it apart and then re-put it together in a new space. The other option is that sliding bits and pieces of it through our upstairs windows and having them manually come down through a crane sort of system, which is how some of our furniture actually did get upstairs. So, in case if you wanted to know about that. And then I had a shindig that I was kind of slightly forced to attend that evening, which I was not super jazzed about, so it was in relation to work. But I got hold of a sweet new baby. I mean, like, he's not really new. He'll be 6 months on Christmas, so new to me baby. So his name's Christopher. There was a picture on Instagram, which you guys liked a whole bunch if you do follow me. And he's pretty adorable. This week has been really busy, trying to dot all our I's and cross all of our T's with different work projects and that kind of thing. We had our work party on Friday, and that went well. And had PJ party at the yarn store, and then I went to open knitting last night, and then I did a whole bunch of baking and cooking throughout these last 2 weeks. So made a ton of Chex Mix. I made brownies today, or cupcakes. I made cornbread and cupcakes. So yeah, that was good.
I made some cracker candy.
Yeah, that was good.
It was a big hit at the yarn store for the PJ party, so I have a little more in the fridge, but I'm kind of hoarding that for myself. But the problem is, like, it cold helps preserve it, but it's not like the most flavorful. So I may need to put them in my pantry, which is not so well insulated, but it's been kind of not cold here. Like, it's chilly. It's in the 40s, but it's not cold enough that pantry is kind of a cooler, you know?
Yeah. It was 54 in town yesterday in Wilmington.
I was going to say, I wasn't outside too much yesterday, but I knew it was supposed to get, like, in the 50s, too. So, we'll see. Well, Do you all want to see some knitting? I mean, you can see some knitting, but I'm going to hold off on a minute on this. But let's move into what's taking a bow this week. What have we finished? I've finished 4. Yes, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 finished objects for me this week. When it rains, it pours. And I only have 2 works in progress. So, you know, but that means I get to cast on all the things, but I'm kind of focusing. I'm focusing, so don't you worry. Hopefully there'll be more progress in the future. All right, first things first. My grandma's favorite microfiber blanket is done. So, long story short, we were gifted this yarn as a podcast prize or for ourselves. And I originally was going to keep it as a podcast prize, but to ship these 3 or 4 huge balls, almost like those Karen 1 pound, but it was not. It was Bernat baby blanket in the little sandcastles colorway. I would have had to like have a huge box to ship these 4 skeins. So I was like looking at it, I was like, you know what? It's kind of soft yarn. And the colors kind of match my couch. So I was like, I could do like a grandma's favorite dishcloth pattern where you increase out for 2 balls and decrease in. Well, then I decided to get a little fancy in the middle, and I didn't know what I was doing in terms of increasing and decreasing. So it kind of increases, goes like this for just a little short while, and then so it's interesting. But we just pretend it's a blanket. And actually, the dogs and Andy have fallen in love with it. I had to steal it from both the dogs to bring it up here to remember to have it with me. And then I just threw it on Callie's chair, and I took a quick snapshot of it so I can put it on Ravelry. But let me show you. You're not going to be able to see it all. But here it is. I did this on a size 11 needle, which is an 8 millimeter. So you can kind of see the length of it. And it's all down here. Yay! And you think, oh, big yarn, big needles goes super fast, which it does. But there are 1,200 yards of yarn in here.
You should have saved that for stash.
I don't do stash.
But if you
Applaud
did,
to all you people who do, and that motivates you. I'm just like, meh. But you know, you've noticed I never talk about tour de fleece with my spinning like that. There are certain things that engage me, and there are certain things that don't. But funny story, Race to the Finished Object was started in the lines of Stash Dash. Like I was kind of like, what could we do that's a little bit different? And so we do a monthly show us what you finished to kind of help you push to get some stuff done at the end of the month if it motivates you. But I know not everyone who watches that's going to motivate, right? So different strokes for different folks. So anyway, this blanket is huge. Andy wishes it was a bit taller, but I'm like, I only had so much yarn. And he's like, you can make another one. And I was like, you can make another one. I can teach you how to knit. And of course, my mom comes over. She goes, oh, that'd look really good on my couch. I'm like, it looks even better on my couch. You can come over and use it. I'm just like, you know, I'm not very often selfish with my knitting, but when I actually make something that's useful and super simple. Anyway, the blanket is done. It's the beige rage going on over here. So I finished. I finished the blanket. Blanket is done. So that's a big project off the needles. We're just gonna throw that back on the floor over there. And then next, I finished my flax by Tin Can Knits, and this was knit out of Barocco Vintage Colors in number 5220, which is Cafe Latte, and I used a size 6 and 8 US, which is a 4 and 5 millimeter needle. I'm gonna stand up here in a minute, but I've worn this to knitting last Tuesday, and I wore it to Amber's house yesterday to take pictures. I am in love with the fit. I must be getting really fat. Did not do a gauge swatch, but I did knit a 51-inch bust because I wanted it to have positive ease. And I don't think it's too oversized. I am not a fan of the neckline. I don't know if I will ever be a fan of a pullover neckline in knitwear. But I'm not going to go back and add more ribbing because that to me would be weird to have thicker ribbing. And it's fine. And I told Callie, I said the other 2 times I wore it a darker gray or black shirt. And I don't think it highlighted as much as a white undershirt. I just don't like when you see so much of a guy's undershirt. And you don't need to see without an undershirt like this. That starts to get a little risque for me to show that much skin. So I did alternate skeins because it is a highly variegated yarn. I alternated as if it were hand-dyed in order to try to avoid any pooling or flashing, which I'm happy with. And I did do the traditional version with the garter stitch down the arms, which I'll show you in a second. Which if I do this again, worsted or fingering, I think I would probably omit the garter stitch just to give it a cleaner, more classic look. I like the little detail. It's very simple, and it adds something to this, which both men and women can enjoy. It's very a gender neutral accent, but you can easily omit it and just get a plain sweater. So I might do that in the future. So I did knit it to length for the 51 inch, so it's a little longer than I normally wear my sweaters, but I enjoy that. It covers the back area. Yeah, you can see I'm bigger than I look from the front. I know. Anyway, and then you can see the garter stitch. Sorry, my light that we use to light the podcast is blowing that out, but you can see the garter stitch down there. I did measure the sleeves, and I did the sleeves 1.5 inches. You can almost see the ribbing is 1.5 inches, so they go like right to the ribbing at the bottom, the start of it. I did the sleeves 1.5 inches shorter than what they recommended for this size, which I'm happy for me and my arms. I did actually try it on. It comes perfect where I can pull it down like this if I want, because we all like the extra long sleeves sometimes. But if I don't need to really roll it up for it to fit right where it needs to be. So super happy with it, other than the neckline. And I knit 2 sweaters this year. That's crazy. I don't know, the next time we record will be New Year's Eve. And we've never done this before. But since I've been tagging all my projects with the year, and then it sets it up in your project page where you can click on the year and it'll give you like all the yardage you've used. And I could tally up like how many projects I've done. Like we know there's going to be a lot of hats on there. But I've knit 2 sweaters. I don't think I've ever done that before, knit 2 sweaters, adult size sweaters in a year. So that was a positive for me. But maybe I'll go over some of my stats. I would say Callie would do the same, but she's not motivated by the project page, whereas that really motivates me. We were talking about this at knitting one night about blocking, and there was a couple at the PJ party and they were talking, oh, we've got a whole stack of stuff that needs to be blocked and steamed. And I said, that's part of the finishing project. Like when I bind off that last stitch, I weave in all my ends, and if I can, I block it that day or the next day, because to me, in my head, it's not done until it's blocked. So that kind of helps motivate me to finish it. So I have a lot of FO pictures I need to take. But I think I talked about this last time. My Christmas tree is where I take a lot of my FO pictures, so I'm waiting for the holiday season to be done so I can set up Miss Mannequin and take some photos. So I did block this, by the way. I did run this through my washer on the hand wash cycle, and then I laid it flat to dry, but it helped spin out a lot of the water. When you have such a large garment, especially in a thicker yarn, like yes, I could have deep soaked this in my tub, but then it would have taken a million years to wring it out, and it still would have had a lot of water in it and would have taken even longer to dry. So I went downstairs, I showed Andy, I said, look, you're my living proof. I knit a sweater, and we're going to cross our fingers, and I put it in the wash, and everything came out great. So if you have a newer-ish washer, you should look. There's at least a delicate, if not even farther than that, is a hand wash cycle, which you can throw your hand knits in, and, it'll be very gentle on them. So there's that. Next, I finished yesterday my Cancun socks. I started and finished the first sock minus grafting the toe while we were on vacation last month in Cancun. And I've been working since then, the last month, to finish the second sock. And I did half of it this last week. So these are done. These are on my hedgehog sock blockers that I picked up at Stitches Midwest this year. These are from Perfectly Catchy Designs. I'm not sure if they have an online presence, but they, I know, are at all the Stitches events.
They have an eBay store.
Do they?
Mm-hmm. I looked them up after watching Amber's podcast.
I see. So you can check them out on eBay. Just search P-U-R-R, and then Perfectly Catchy. So this is knit out of Knit Picks Stroll Tweed in the North Pole Heather colorway for the main body of the sock. And then the alternating cuff, heel, and toe is out of Leading Men Fiber Arts Showstopper Intermission in the black walnut colorway. Super happy with these. I knit 2 full pairs of socks with alternating cuff, heel, and toe out of one of our intermission skeins, and I still had 10 grams left over, which I gave to Amber to be able to use. And I gave her my leftovers yesterday while I was there, but we did weigh to see how much I had left over. So there's that, and I finished those. These were a 72 stitch sock, and I don't really measure. I count my rows. I think I did 15 rows of 2x2 ribbing. I did 65 plain rounds. Then I did a heel turn, heel flap and heel turn. And then I did 90 rounds, including the decrease of the gusset. And then I did a rounded toe. So there's that. I finished those. Super excited to actually wash and block those and have those this winter. Because I don't wear my socks, but other than in the wintertime when I wear them as like house socks and whatnot. So there's that. And last but not least, guess what? Chicken butt. I finished a hat. So I finished a hat out of our neon pencil. This is Leading Men Fiber Arts box office in the neon pencil colorway. Sorry, it's blowing out a little bit. You can see it there. So this one's a little more fitted. I don't know if my swatches have been getting a little bigger or whatnot, but I have not had as much yarn to knit my hats longer. So this one's more beanie style, which is fine. They can be a little different. So this is going to my stack of hats for Operation Chemo Comforts hat drive that'll be taking place next fall. And I knit this on size 6 and 8 US as well, which is a 4 and 5 millimeter needle. So I've got another hat, and I've got yarn balled up to start another swatch, and then eventually another hat here soon. So, just those 2 things. That's all I finished in the last 2 weeks. Over to you, Callie.
I only have 1 sock finished, but it is a hoe nonetheless, with heel flap and ends woven in, so it is in the Knit Picks Jingle colorway, so yay. Not as exciting, but
hey, still exciting in its own
I know.
right.
And I had a pretty good streak there of finished projects, so.
It's true, you very much have. And hopefully next episode, maybe you'll have those done. You zoom and right along on those, so. Mm-hmm. All right, let's move into what's performing this episode. So first up for me is this Behind the Scenes by Michelle Hunter. And I am on to, I think, clue 4 maybe of 4. If not, I'm really super close to it. So this is knit out of Haiku O in the Wow colorway. And here's where we're at. So you can see the cabling in the middle has stopped. And we're here. This was the beginning. There'll be 4 buttons that go on the end there. And then there'll be, guess what? Buttonholes on the other end. So you can kind of make it into an infinity cowl. I love the softness of the yarn, but this yarn does decide to shed and kind of go all over the place. So there's that I'm working on, and that's on a size 10 US and 8 millimeter. And I have way too long of a cord on that for the small, width of that scarf. And then the second thing and last thing I'm working on is Winter City by Christopher Salas. And I'm using Leading Men Fiber Arts Dramaturg in the Winter Wonderland, Ice Ice Baby, and It's Cold Out colorways. And I'm working right along. I'm almost done with the main body of the section. And by almost done, I mean I've got I'm almost done. So here we are. I've done some decent progress on it. And it's got that star stitch, which again I talked about last episode. You knit across plain and then you do the star stitching on the backside, and so you want to either knit really loosely on that knitting plain round for those color rows, or I've even gone up 2 needle sizes. So this is a knit on a size 7 US, which is a 4.5 millimeter, and I've been knitting that plain round before doing the star stitching on a size 9 to kind of help me be able to get into those stitches and do the star stitching. So I've got a little bit more to go with the Winter Wonderland, and then I do the Ice Ice Baby one more time and a little more Winter Wonderland, and then it goes into the mosaic kind of snowflake color knitting at the bottom. So I'm pretty sure I've done mosaic knitting, but never really known it as mosaic, so I'm excited. Mosaic knitting is where you do, you're only ever knitting with one color at a time, but you're slipping stitches, so it causes it to have a color work effect. So, super excited about that. And that's all I'm working on. Like I said, I'm going to start a new swatch here soon, out of our obscured colorway, which is kind of a camo color. But those are the only two active things I have on my needles.
I'm working on the mate of my sock, so I have put in for the heel flap. But yeah, I'm doing pretty well, and I'm almost finished with this. And I'm on size 0 US needle. And like every time I go into the shop, I buy another set. I wouldn't say every time, but a pretty good, about 90% of the time I do, because I have them throughout the house, but it's a lot easier just to buy a new pair every once in a while. Yeah. And so, then this way it guarantees that Kelly's always going to keep them in stock.
Well, let's talk about what's in rehearsal. What are we going to cast on? I'm going to cast on the Paris by Day. I've been talking about that for a while. The pattern is linked in the show notes, with some Ba La Jolla that I had picked up several weeks ago now, but it's waiting for me. And I'm also going to be eventually doing another hat surprise when I finish that sample, or that swatch. And then I'm going to be swatching up our new color for January, which you've kind of already seen. So we're going to be doing up that custom speckle I had in my starting point, the Hoki wrap. So we're going to be doing that and releasing that as our January colorway, calling it Starting Point, as in the starting point of 2018, and in honor of, you know, it being created for my show. So nice. I just went through puberty a little bit and my voice cracked. So I hope you all enjoyed that.
I wasn't even going to call you on it.
No, you weren't, but I just snatched that right away from you. I was like, before she can even say anything, I'm just going to announce that it happened. So that's all that I have actively planned. There may be something soon, but I think, you know, I don't think that Winter City's going to be done immediately. But once Winter City's done, then I'll kind of use my random number generator on my stash and see what it picks for me to knit with next. So that's kind of exciting.
Nice. I'm going to talk about this on the fly a little bit because Steve asked me before we started if I had made a decision. And I have been thinking about this while Steve was going through all of his projects. Not that I wasn't actively listening, but...
I watched your face a little bit. It was like...
I also, like, really zone a lot, too, sometimes. And while I was thinking about it, I was kind of zoning. So, I love you, and I'm sorry, but
it's cool.
I'm not.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
I just wanted to make sure there was no more coming.
It's cool. Go ahead.
You got one more in you?
No, that's
not yet?
It's enough.
Okay.
It's enough, Callie.
So, for January, for our knit along, yes, they are coming back. And I think for just the month of January, this is what we have decided, and that is clean off your needles. So we know that the holidays are here, and some of us have been very focused on gift knitting, and some of us have not been, because, well, that's our jam. It's not a bad thing to be a selfish knitter. Not at all. Because maybe you don't have knit-worthy people in your life. But chances are some of us, not Steve, but some of us may have some projects languishing on the needles. So for the month of January, it's just clean them off. And You know, we'll announce prizes a little later down the road. Obviously, your project does not have to be started on January 1, 2018. It can be before. It just has to be finished by January 31st, and we'll pick winners by the next time we record after that date. Have to be a member of the group. Post your FO project in the FO thread. And double dip into the finished objects, or race to the finished object thread. And yeah, let's do that.
We'll do our normal thing. If you use any Leading Men fiber arts in any part of your project, you can post it twice to the knit along thread. And you know, if you are like me and you don't like to have things hibernating, you know, even if you just finish something in that month, you can post it.
Yeah.
So if you cast it on and finish it in the month, it still counts. You're cleaning off your needles.
Yep. I just think, you know, December and January for me, just because of the way work falls as well, is a big time for me to kind of like take stock in the things that I have, go through. I was watching Amy Best's most recent episode, and she was saying this is like her nesting time of the year. And so I was like, I really identify and agree with that. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm also going to Florida in January for vacation, and I'm flying, so I'm pretty jazzed about that, because I kind of waffled over this vacation for a while about if I was going to actually go through with it or not. And my coworker was just like, if you don't buy your tickets, you're never going to go. And she's exactly right, because if I didn't, I would have found every excuse not to. But I already had the time off, so I'm really excited about that. And I'm going to go see my my first work wife, Amy. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about seeing their dog. Her and her husband, Scott, have a dog named Ozzy, and I pretty much love him a lot. And we may or may not go to Disney World and or Harry Potter Wizarding World, because it's Florida. Obviously.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. I meant to put that in the beginning. But that's where you found it.
Well, let's talk about what's behind the scenes. What's going on in my spinning world. I finished some spinning, and I've been holding on to it so that I could show it to you. I will then put it in the shop probably tonight or sometime. But I finished some Miss Babs Merino Bamboo Silk in the Horizon colorway. And I picked this up at the first Super Summer Knit Together in Nashville before I even started dyeing yarn. This is like 6 years ago. I've had this fiber for a while. And because it's got the bamboo and silk, I spun this super thin. I got 438 yards of a 2-ply fingering. And as you know, if you've been a long-time viewer, I usually fall on about that Sport DK range. So super happy with that. And it's silvers with some teals and the occasional pops and flecks of gold. So I'm super happy about this. So I'm going to take some photos and get it up online. Whatever, if you decide to purchase this, whatever you knit with it's going to have some amazing drape. You know, as you can see, even with hand spun, it's kind of got that floppity going on. Anyway, so there's that. And then my random number generator picked for me some Yarn Geek Fibers Mixed BFL, and I thought this said the Adventure We Will Go colorway, and then I looked at the tag when I was writing show notes, and it actually says Aventurine We Will Go. I don't know what Aventurine is or what the joke is, but if you do, great, let me know. I don't know. But it's just this blue on the mixed BFL, so it's got the kind of swirled white and dark BFL. So I'm almost done with the first 2 ounces of this. This is the second 2 ounces. I don't need to fractally spin it because it's one color. So just spin one half and the other half and apply them together, and I'm enjoying that. So there's that. That's what I've been spinning. And guess what? In the Scene Shops coming back, I looked at my cross-stitch stand one night and said, you poor baby. I've not done anything with you in a while. So I picked up the needle and I started doing a little cross stitch, and then of course what do? I'm like, I need a better tool. So I got a bigger Q-snap. I got an 11 by 17. I'm going to show you here in a minute, which I think is going to help motivate me to see the bigger picture more and not have to change and move around the fabric within the Q-snap more, which I'm lazy in that respect. So I'm working on a dimensions kit called In the Moment, and it says live life in the moment. And I started in the middle, and I've been done with the word in, and I've been working on the for forever and a day. So that's where we're at. And so I've been working on coming back and finishing the from the corner here. I've kind of been working that way. So I set a little timer and I do 15 minutes here and there, and then I move on to something else. And I do the same with my spinning, and it kind of keeps me motivated without putting, feeling obligated, like long stretches to work on these things. I kind of put little bite-sized progress into it here and there. So this is my 11 by 17, so enjoy it. And this is a real Q-snap, not the Hobby Lobby ones, which I think are a little bit better. I do. I only used it once to set it up, but I enjoy it. So there's that. So, been working on that. Let's move on into the spotlight. What are we watching and reading? For me, I am watching with Andy, Grace and Frankie. We finished season 1 and started season 2 finally, but we got a new TV in our dining room that's a smart TV, so we can hook straight up to Netflix, which we were not going to get the TV. It was on sale at his work, and he had a bunch of deals, and I was like, we really don't need to spend the money. And then I said, you know what, go ahead and get it, because we can't. We are really blown out. I said, we can hook up to Netflix and actually make some progress on shows rather than just watching reruns of Big Bang Theory, or you watching football, or me watching Bravo. So, that's been good, but it takes a while. We watch 15 minutes during dinner at night, but at least we're progressing through some shows. I'm also watching Teachers on TV Land. Enjoying that, and it probably has a few more episodes to go. I do know that they are, because as I've said many times, a colleague that I went to college with is one of the stars of the show and the producers, and I'm friends with her on Facebook, and I know that they're already filming season 3, so that's great. And I know that they get quite a few views, and they're kind of one of the top shows on TV Land right now. So that's awesome. So if you can, check it out, or see if your cable provider get you TV Land, and you can always go online and watch it. You just have to sign in with your cable provider to get access to it. Movie-wise, Andy and I watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I enjoyed it, probably not as much as the first one, but I do enjoy the adult humor in it, and I think it's fairly well... I'm sorry, we're blowing out. That light is going real bright. See, and then it goes back. So. It doesn't know what it wants to do. So I enjoyed it. I give it probably 4 stars out of 5 for that one. Books, I finished listening to The Eighth Confession, which is one of the women's detective novels from James Patterson. It was fine. It's a typical James Patterson. I think I like James Patterson more for reading physical books, because you can read a chapter super quick because they're 2 pages. It's something you can pick up by your bedside. I think for listening wise, it's a little
meh.
Yeah, it's meh. And they put in a lot of cheesy music and sound effects randomly. So it was okay. I think I maybe gave it 3 stars. But I am listening to the second novel in the Tales of Verania series, which is what I was talking about with the gay wizard and the hornless gay unicorn and all his journey. The second one audiobook came out, and the third one in the series came out recently. But the second one in the audiobooks got released on Audible, so I'm listening to that right now. I listened to that to and from Amber's yesterday, so I got 4 hours into that. So, again, that's not children or modest person book. So that's it for me.
I am reading a whole bunch, mostly because I'm extremely behind on my Goodreads goal, and that should not be a surprise by any means.
I am too. Not extremely, but I'm 3 or 4 books behind.
Yeah, that's attainable. I'm probably going to pull some kid books just to make it, and I'm not ashamed in saying that. Okay, so I'm reading We're Gonna Need More Wine by Gabrielle Union, and it's really good. A lot of the stories I've heard through interviews and stuff before, but she kind of goes into a little bit deeper with some of them, and so I can appreciate that. But I'm gonna say I'm having a bit of a struggle with these next two books. So I'm still reading Thinking in Pictures by Grandin Temple, and it is a lot to dissect in terms of like, it's very well written, but there's a lot of like science aspect to it, and I appreciate it immensely. Like, I'm learning a ton of things. The book has been around for like 10 or so years now, and almost 20. So some of it is still, a lot of it is still relevant. Some of it is a little bit outdated in terms of there's some updates in the way that things are described and things like that now. But I'm also reading another book, and I am not going to give this book the time of day to mention the title nor the author, because it is also a book about autism, and I'm going to get a little cranky pants about this. What I don't like about this book, if I'm not going to tell you the name and the title of it, or the title and the author of it, then you already know that I am like not a fan of this. But because I'm reading Temple Grandin's book in conjunction with this book about autism, I want to finish it out. But this author is the parent of two boys. She wrote a very famous article that was published in the New York Times a couple of years ago. And it was talking about how Siri, the app for Apple, I don't know if it's not app is not the right word, but the function with Apple phones, how it is conducive to helping her son understand certain context and certain things that are hard to understand on an emotional level. So I remember reading the article thinking, wow, this is really great. And then the author who was a published author of other books, never read those, don't have any context about who this woman is outside of that New York Times article. Okay, so I pick up the book, remember going, oh yeah, I read that New York Times article about this. Okay, I start reading it, and I go, this woman has no handle on, like, what she is doing as a parent is so wrong. Like, so wrong. And then I was like, well, you need to check yourself, okay? So I go on to Goodreads, which, spoiler alert, if you go on to Goodreads thinking that you're going to find some, like, really warm and fuzzy things about this book, then people have not read this book. Clearly have not read this book. And especially if you don't have a grasp on, like, certain things about autism, or people on the spectrum, I guess I should say, then I would not consider this a source of great information. In fact, this parent author even suggests that because her son has autism, that he should not be allowed to reproduce, and she's going to basically maintain the rights over his sexual reproduction for the rest of his life. And, like, the thought on that is just, like, not even the time space for the rest of this podcast, nor is what it's about. But, like, again, like, reading Temple Grandin's book, who actually has autism and is self-identified it. I mean, like, she's been diagnosed, but she self-identifies herself as someone that has autism, and she's proud about it, and she has done the work in trying to educate people on different things that are identifiers, how you can work with folks on the spectrum, because the saying goes, if you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. Like, no two people necessarily are the same. They may have certain things that are tendencies that kind of are similar. But, like, this book is just, like, not Temple's. This book is so frustrating to read because it's like, this parent does not seem to have taken any kind of amount of time to understand her son, and it is just so incredibly frustrating and heartbreaking at the same time, because I couldn't imagine being I couldn't even imagine growing up in that household, what kind of things he had and still has to endure with an uneducated and unsympathetic mom. And it makes me so frustrated, especially when working with kids. It just breaks my heart in about 8 billion different pieces. So if you want to, you can look up at my Goodreads. It's tagged there, but I'm not going to give this book the time of day to mention who it's by or the title. And that's why. So that's a soapbox lecture, but that is what I am reading.
All right. So. Well, Stash Enhancement, I've got nothing to you.
I did, but I didn't bring it because I didn't want to disclose it.
She bought stuff. I saw at least one of the things she got.
Well, plus the yarn that I got from you.
Oh, yeah, you got that too. The yarn you got at Callie's was pretty, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, since she doesn't want to disclose it, we're just going to move right along. This week we've got a giveaway. And so this week's giveaway is, the thread is already posted on the Ravelry group. It's called the Knit Picks Cotton giveaway, but it's got a little bit more than that. So we've got 2 skeins of Knit Picks Cotton in the Moroccan Red colorway. These are 70% Tanguis cotton, 30% linen, 123 yards to 50 grams. It's a DK weight, so you've got, essentially a skein of DK. This beautiful red. And then I threw in this extra 50 gram skein of Crafter Secret Cotton in the Desert Dawn colorway. And this is, I believe, 100% cotton. Yep, 100% cotton.
Pretty dishcloth.
So, these 3 skeins are up for grabs up for grabs this episode. And the prompt that you need to answer, you must be a member of the group. But the prompt I'd like you to answer this episode is, if you were given 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
What would you wish for?
You always ask me this. I don't know. I
feel like if you're going to ask our viewers, then you should be able to answer
I would
it.
ask for good health. I would wish for success in my endeavors. And I would ask that, I would wish for maintaining the love and the relationship that I have. So those would probably be the 3 things I would ask for.
Okay.
They're vague in general, but, if you've ever watched one of those cautionary tales or read one of those cautionary tales, you keep it vague in general. Anyway, so the thread's up in the group. Go on over if you're not a member of the group. And ladies and gents, we have been 1 person away from 2,000 people in our Ravelry group for forever and a day. So if you have not joined our Ravelry group, would you go on over and click join? If you have friends who watch, or you're like, hey, you should watch this podcast, and join the Ravelry group. I'm just like, come on, we've been 1 away for like a month. I know we're not a big Ravelry group, but that's like a milestone. So, anyway. Let's move into a round of applause. So last episode, we did a giveaway for the Knitter's Life List book. And we asked, do you like to plan things out or be spontaneous, and to give an example or explain? And so I used the random number generator this morning and closed the thread, and it chose for us number 19, who is Mona Moon, and that's Alyssa from Indiana. Congratulations, Alyssa.
Cool.
And she said, I am way better than I used to be, but I am definitely a planner. An extreme example of my planning is I organize my grocery list in order of the store I will be going to. So if milk is in the back, I start with milk on my list and end with whatever is closest to the register. So I thought that was interesting. I consider myself very much type A, but that is something that is not on my type A register. Like, I've never even considered that because I just got back into writing grocery lists, but we kind of just write things down as we think about them throughout the week. But yeah, that's something I could see myself eventually doing if I was very much a planner. But since I'm not the cook in the house, I don't really plan the grocery list. I just kind of put down the essentials that we need.
I like doing for grocery list. I like, if I know the store that I'm going to, I like doing it by aisle. Because I start with produce and, because I usually shop at Kroger and Aldi. Because I think our Aldi has some really nice produce. But I start there and work our way. And frozen is in the last, like, 3 or 4 aisles in that Kroger. And because I have to drive a half hour from the grocery store back, so I like having the frozen food last, so then that way it will still be frozen by the time that I get home, and we'll keep other things cold.
I was just letting you finish. Okay, so we talked about the new knit along in January. That was on my show notes, so she already covered that. Our December 2017, wow, our December 2017 Race to the Finished Object thread is open. So anything you finish in the month of December, you can post in there. Post each finished object as a separate post. That'll get you more entries into the drawing. We'll have some sort of physical prize as well as a pattern prize. This month is being donated by Callie. Yep. Up to $10. And that can be split up however you want to do it. And then in January, we do have a new featured designer, so thank you. I will start talking about her next episode. She graciously stepped up to the plate, and she's a newish designer, but she's got some new patterns coming out soon, so we're excited for that. So I think that's it for our regularly scheduled show. We're going to go into Center Stage, which is all things leading men fiber arts. If you lead us now, we'll see you on New Year's Eve. We'll be rocking it with party hats. No, well, but
speak for yourself, homie.
Maybe we'll have some fancy drinks.
Fancy?
I've been super all about the limoncello with some Diet Crush. It's been my jam. I have Diet Crush in my drink, and I almost put some limoncello in there, but then I was like, feel kind of naughty drinking on the podcast. Anyway. So let's talk about when we see you again. It's going to be New Year's Eve, and the next day will be New Year's Day, which is January 1st, and we've got 2 things being released in the Leading Men Fiber Art shop. The first will be the new colorway of the year, and I've already talked with you about it. I'll show it to you on the next episode when we actually dye it up. But then we're also going to have our year in review sets premiere in January. And what we've done the past 2 years is you can pre-order all throughout the month of January. We keep them up all month. But I think that's for right now the plan, but we'll see how things go. We may need to, cap it at a set number, but we're going to have a lot to start with. The first thing is our year in review mini sets. Those are kind of the big thing everybody looks for. And so we give 10 20-gram minis in our showstopper base of all the new colorways we came out with in 2017. And this year we've kind of themed it up, so it's going to be put your star on your shawl of fame is kind of the theme we're going with. So along with getting the 10 mini skeins, you will get a small muslin drawstring project bag that the local yarn store owner of Les Moutons Rouge Knittery, which is our local yarn store, Callie, she prints those, and it's going to have a star on it. And what you're going to do is, and we'll have a little handout that explains, but you can take a fabric pen or a permanent marker, and you can write your Ravelry name in the star, almost like your star on the Walk of Fame in LA. You'll have your star on your Shawl of Fame. And then, so you'll have in the bag, you'll have the mini skeins. You'll also have a little handout that'll be a playbill of all the starring roles of 2017, and you'll have a little headshot of the mini skein as well as their colorway name and what month they premiered. And then on the back, you will get a coupon code for a free shawl pattern from Michelle of Crafty Flutter by Creations, and she does shawl pins as well. Just wait for that. But the shawl design that you will get is for her apparent plot shawl, and so you'll get a free coupon code for that. And we've done up a sample in all of our minis, and we've kind of modified the shawl a little bit, but it kind of uses all of our minis throughout the year. And so if you want something to do with those minis, here's an option if you so choose. If not, you've got the pattern and you can use other yarn. So this is a typical triangular shawl that alternates between stockinette and a mesh lace, and all we did is alternate between those two stitches with every mini skein. And so this uses about 920 yards of yarn, so it's a decent size. And, you know, it's something fun. It's not the best melded colors, but it's... And we did this in the order that they came out throughout the year. So this is kind of the run of the year. So you've got Yarn Hoarder, Love You to Pieces, Quantum Leap, Rumor Has It, Independent Will, Grease Lightning, King Max, Trapdoor, Winter Wonderland, and Sea Turtle. So this is what I was having Amber take pictures of. Her daughter Heidi was gracious enough to model for us, so I was thankful of that. And so you'll get a coupon code to get this shawl pattern. And then Michelle of Crafty Butterfly Creations also did up hand-turned shawl pins for us that will be included in the mini skein sets only. Okay, so you get the drawstring bag, the shawl pin, and the pattern with the mini skein sets, not with the full skein sets that Matar got. So this hand-turned shawl pin has a star on it as well, so you get the whole star theme. And she's also included some coupon codes with each shawl pin as well. So the mini skein sets, again, 10 mini skeins, shawl pin, pattern, project bag, those are going to be $90 this year. Okay, we did a price increase at the beginning of 2017, so you're kind of noticing that now with the mini skein set. So it's $90 for all of that. And then we'll also have full skein versions of our Showstopper base and Show Stealer. With that, you'll get 10 full skeins of fingering weight yarn, either base, and then also a knitting tote, which will have the star on it. And again, you can put your Ravelry name in that star. The prices for those are going to be $255 for Showstopper and $295 for Show Stealer. So those will be premiering on January 1st. They are pre-order. We will have 100 sets of the mini skeins ready to go. But with the show or the full skein sets, you know, it is a pre-order technically, and we'll say it'll probably run about 2 to 3 weeks from when you order at the most. It'll probably be sooner than that. So that's news. What else did I want to mention? Oh, the shop itself. I am in the process of reorganizing the shop. And Callie's on board. I talked with her about it, and she thinks it's going to be a good thing. But it's taking a lot of time, and I worked on it for about an hour and a half today. It's going to take some time. But I'm reorganizing the entire shop by colorway. So you can go on, and you'll just see in alphabetical order all the colorways we have in the shop currently available. And once you click on the colorway, there'll be a drop-down where you can pick between the bases that are currently dyed up and ready to ship. Now, if you don't see the base listed that you want on a certain colorway, we've got you covered. There's a custom order tab at the top of our website whenever you're there. You can always just fill out that form and we'll dye it up for you. So we just think that'll kind of allow us to put a lot more in the shop for you at one time, and it might be a little bit easier to navigate and choose some things. So we are a little restricted on the amount of pictures we can put up, so I've been trying to label each picture with what base they are, but if it exceeds more than 5 bases, I can't really, you know, put those pictures up. I only can put 5 pictures up at a time. So, but I'm excited for that. I think that'll be better. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about our upcoming shows. So we're still clear for January, nothing going on in January, but I will be attending the Knitting Pipeline Retreat in middle of February in Washington, Illinois. We've applied to vend. We haven't heard back word yet, but I'm assuming we're going to be there vending. And I'll just be bringing a smattering of things from the online shop there. But then the day after, I leave for Stitches West in Santa Clara, California. So my sister and I will be driving out Sunday through Wednesday, and then Andy's flying out on Thursday, and it's going to be a whirlwind, but we're super excited to see people on the West Coast. So that's super exciting. And then the next month we'll be going the other way and going to Hartford, Connecticut for Stitches United. And we got some other big shows to announce this year. We just got into, I was telling Callie, we got into SAF all the way in October, but that's in North Carolina, so that's the Southeastern Animal Fiber Festival. So we're excited about that. I didn't think that that was going to happen for us this year. We have applied for quite a few other bigger, well-known shows. So we'll see, and I'll let you know as we hear word. But if you're interested to see if we're going to be in an area around you, if you go to the bottom of our website, leadingmenfiberarts.bigcartel.com, at the bottom it says shows and festivals, and I keep that updated by month where we're going to be with links to the websites of those shows. So, yeah, definitely check out the shop. And if you feel so inclined, please come join our Ravelry group for Leading Men Fiber Arts, as well as our Facebook page for the company. And you can always find us on Instagram. In terms of the show, again, come join the group. We want to hit over 2,000 members. And you can find us on iTunes and YouTubes. You can, leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, subscribe to us. We'd greatly appreciate that. And, yeah. All of our other contact information is in the scrolling credits at the end of the show. So until we see you in 2 weeks on New Year's Eve,
we hope you
knit something dramatic.